The sterile white laboratory hummed with the quiet efficiency of 1,000 automated systems working in harmony. Dr. Jeanan Walsh stood before the holographic display, her hands trembling as she reviewed the results for the 7th time. The data couldn't be right. It simply couldn't be. "Randy, you need to see this," she called out, her voice barely above a whisper. Randy Torres looked up from his workstation, concern etching lines across his weathered face. He'd known Jeanan for 12 years, ever since they'd both been assigned to the Galactic Genetic Research Institute on Station Kepler-4 for 2B. In all that time, he'd never heard that particular tone in her voice, a mixture of disbelief and something that might have been fear. He crossed the lab in quick strides, his reflection dancing across the polished floors. "What's wrong?" Jeanan gestured at the swirling double helix structures rotating before them, each strand color-coded and annotated with incomprehensible streams of data. "The comparative analysis is complete. The Council wanted us to map human aggression markers against the Carthac genome." The Carthac, the very name sent a chill through the station's human contingent. For 3 centuries, they had been the undisputed warriors of the galaxy's 7 feet of scaled muscle, razor-sharp claws, and a culture built entirely around combat prowess. They had conquered 47 worlds before the Galactic Council had finally brokered a tenuous peace. Even now, Carthac mercenaries were the most sought-after fighters in known space, and Randy prompted, though something in Jeanan's expression told him he wasn't going to like the answer. "The Carthac have approximately 847 genetic sequences associated with aggressive behavior, territorial dominance, and combat response." She paused, her finger hovering over the display. "Humans have 2,431. The silence that followed was profound. Randy stared at the numbers, his mind refusing to process what his eyes were showing him. That's triple, nearly triple, 2.87 times more, to be precise," Jeanan corrected, her scientist's mind clinging to exactitude even as the implications threatened to overwhelm her. "Randy, we're not just more aggressive than the Carth, we're more aggressive than every species in the database. The Virenbas, 1203 sequences. The Torgothi Raiders, 1,654. The extinct predator class, Zilith, 1,889. Randy reached out and manipulated the display, pulling up comparison charts that painted an even more disturbing picture. Humans weren't just at the top of the aggression scale. They were so far beyond every other species that the graphs looked ridiculous, like a child's drawing where one bar stretched off the page. "How is this possible?" he muttered. "We're one of the newest spacefaring species. We've been in the galactic community for less than a century. If we're this aggressive, why aren't we the ones conquering worlds?" Jeanan had been asking herself the same question for the past 3 hours. She pulled up another dataset, this one showing a complex network of interconnected genetic markers. Because of these, Randy leaned closer, squinting at the web of connections. "What am I looking at? Inhibitors, empathy markers, social bonding sequences." Jeanan's fingers danced across the haptic interface, highlighting different sections. "Humans don't just have triple the aggression sequences. We have 10 times the inhibition and social cooperation markers of any other species studied. It's like we're 2 species fighting for control of the same body, one that wants to tear everything apart, and one that desperately wants to build communities and protect others." The implications began to sink in for Randy. "So we're not more violent, BECAUSE, because we're constantly holding ourselves back," Jeanan finished. "Every moment of every day, humans are engaged in an internal struggle that most species can't even comprehend. The Carthac don't need to control their aggression because they don't have much to control. They're naturally aggressive, yes, but it's a steady state for them. Humans, we're a pressure cooker with a relief valve." Randy sat down heavily in the nearest chair, his mind racing through centuries of human history, the wars, the atrocities, the violence that had marked humanity's climb from the caves to the stars. And yet, somehow, humans had also created art, philosophy, music. They had built societies based on cooperation and mutual aid. They had developed complex moral systems and spent enormous resources on helping those weaker than themselves. "What happens if the valve fails?" he asked quietly. Jeanan didn't answer immediately. She pulled up historical data from Earth's archives, cross-referencing them with the genetic markers they'd discovered. "I've been looking at that. There are documented cases throughout human history where the inhibitions failed either through social breakdown, psychological trauma, or deliberate cultural conditioning. The results were ... catastrophic." Images flashed across the display: ancient wars, modern conflicts, genocides, and massacres. each one a testament to what happened when humanity's darker nature slipped its leash. But here's what's even more interesting, Jenin continued, pulling up another set of data. Look at the recovery patterns. After every major conflict, human societies didn't just rebuild, they created stronger social bonds, more robust ethical systems, more elaborate peacekeeping mechanisms. It's like every time the aggression breaks through, the social cooperation instincts respond by building higher walls. Randy stood and paced the length of the laboratory, his boots clicking against the floor. We need to report this to the council. I know, Jenin replied. But Randy, think about what this means. The council has been treating humanity as a relatively harmless newcomer species, useful for our adaptability and creativity, but not a threat. If they find out that we're potentially the most dangerous species in the galaxy, they'll fear us, Randy finished. And fear makes people or species do stupid things. Jenin nodded slowly. There's something else. I ran a simulation based on our genetic profile. If humans were ever to lose our social inhibition sequences through disease, genetic modification, or even selective breeding, the resulting species would be unstoppable. We'd make the Karthak look like house cats. The weight of that statement hung in the air between them. They both understood the delicate position humanity occupied in the galactic community. Too weak to be respected, too useful to be ignored, too new to be trusted. This discovery could tip that balance in very dangerous directions. What do we do? Randy asked. Jenin looked at the data one more time, at the intricate dance of genes that made humans both monster and saint, warrior and peacemaker. We report the truth, all of it. The aggression sequences and the inhibitors. We make sure the council understands that humans are dangerous, yes, but we're dangerous to ourselves first and foremost. We've spent our entire evolutionary history learning to chain the beast inside us, and if they don't understand, she smiled grimly, then we hope our inhibitors keep working, because the last thing the galaxy needs is to find out what happens when humans stop holding back. Randy nodded, understanding the terrible responsibility they carried. Humanity's secret was out. They were not the peaceful newcomers everyone assumed. They were warriors who had chosen peace, predators who had learned to protect instead of hunt. The question now was whether the galaxy could accept a species that carried such darkness within them, controlled only by their own desperate desire to be better than their nature demanded. As they prepared their report for the Galactic Council, both scientists understood that they had just changed humanity's place in the cosmos forever. For better or for worse, the galaxy would never see humans the same way again.